After the Great War, the German Empire was reorganized into what we call the Weimar Republic, which might sound good at first, but then the economy was a complete joke. The government was ran by a revolving door of incompetent and ineffective leaders, who often tend to be on the older side, who were unable to stop the country from being torn apart from both extremes of both sides, which led to people believing in and supporting even more extreme people to stop it. No matter the consequences of having to step over other people, just as long as they were in better hands.
They blamed minorities for the nation's decline and forcefully got rid of this group and political dissidents by concentrating them in camps. They built a cult of personality around their leader, where followers excused their every action. They lied constantly and built a media bubble where reality no longer mattered. They undermined democracy through an attempted coup, centralizing power in the hands of one person, and weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents. They pushed expansionist claims, openly talking about annexing the territory of other countries.
The funny mustache man had a lot of plans and he wanted to push through. Starting out with the remilitarization of the Rhineland, which was against international law. The Western powers were reluctantly allowing this, but there was writing on the wall within Germany that this was not a good thing. So a lot of backroom dealings and totally not going back on promises later. They eventually launched a coup, led by Great War General August von Mackensen, starting the German Civil War, essentially splitting the country down the middle. With the help of paramilitary wings like the Iron Front, and expelling communists, this led to the revolt pushing pretty easily into Germany. The Olympics were cancelled, and a week after they were supposed to be held. Even with aid from Italy and Austria, the Reich was losing, and a lot of officers started seeing what was going on, so launched a conspiracy.
Ein Orders from Führer. Drive.
The mustache man exploded. This led to many surrendering, but there were still loyalists in the north and south. And now the Fourth Silesian Uprising, splitting the country into four. Pomerania and Prussia was taken over by Hermann Göring, but only lasted the rest of the month and a week, while in the south it was taken over by Heinrich Himmler, who was far more successful due to aid from Austria and Italy. In Silesia, the Republic was overthrown in 3 days by communists.
A new flag. We are now the Silesian People's Republic, led by Philip Zielinski.
And he lasted 23 days. By mid-January 1937, the South was crushed. Himmler attempted to escape into Austria, but he was caught, but he took his own life. Those part of the Austro conspiracy were pardoned, but the majority of the former regime were hung. Investigation to find them led by secret agent Achim Hode. Mackensen was heralded as a hero, but he retired, staying on as chancellor until they can figure out what their next move is. All the real governing and stuff was actually done by Hans Oster, the vice-chancellor. After a period of reconstruction, they decided to re-establish the Kaiser Reich. So they asked the Netherlands, can we please have Wilhelm II back? They said no.
How could this happen to me?
Plan B, they crowned his son Wilhelm III as a constitutional monarch, inspired by the UK, bringing back the other German monarchs, and updating the laws to be similar to the UK, as well as air safety. Meanwhile, in Italy and Austria, they weren't doing super hot after that, so the Chancellor of Austria lost his position. So did Italy, but in more violent ways, and he was assassinated. As a fascist coup in Spain was prevented because all the leaders were either dead or stuck without a ride. Also, meanwhile, in Hungary, after about 2 decades, Hungary finally found a new king, electing the second son of the King of Sweden. He preferred the name Wilhelm, but he went with Karl V. Hans Vogel was elected chancellor, as Germany tried apologizing for the Great War and trying growing closer to Britain, accepting their naval domination in exchange for infrastructure investment, and then bullying Belgium to give up the Congo, splitting it between both of them. And to celebrate their newfound friendship, the British king, Albert I, invited Wilhelm III to a New Year's party, and Wilhelm decided to show up in style on the Hindenburg, the pride of the German Air Force, and it went up in flames, being known as the 1937 New Year's disaster, killing the majority of the German royal family plus Prince George of the British, leading to the new Empress of Germany, Victoria. She was well popular with her supporters, but many people disliked her because woman, and that's not traditional. As well as Erich Rieder was promised that they would focus on the German Navy, and they're allowing the British Navy to overtake them, which upsetted him, leading to the Kriegsmarine Revolt of 38, which was quashed by British support. Germany was looking for more land to take back, as well as more allies, so promised to guarantee Poland if they can have their old land back. They said yes. Otto Habsburg was given back Austria. This entire time, France was super pissed, seeing Germany come back from the ashes even stronger than ever, feeling betrayed by Britain, and concerned they'll be invaded next for Schleswig-Holstein, led to the election of the Communist Party. Communists also took over in Spain, as well as Belgium after the British and Germany bullied them. With the threat of the Soviets and the Western Communists, this led Germany forming the Anti-Communist Pact. Hans Ulster was elected the new chancellor. Around the same time, the Soviets invaded Finland. It was very easily repelled, but this led to World War II, where the Soviets as well as Western Europe invaded and became this entire mess. Belgium was easy, but France put up a great defense, and Spain was a colossal pain to invade. While in the east it was much more fluid and went back and forth, and somewhat being a second Crimean War. With French African holdings revolting under Charles de Gaulle, by the mid-40s the Western Front was settled, but Russians refused to surrender. But with some German science, they detonated 3 nukes, and eventually the Soviets got tired of the war, Stalin's constant paranoia and purges, and had him coup. At the end of the war, Oster retired, and he was replaced by Konrad Adler, who was chancellor from 1949 till 1966. The Anglo-German alliance only strengthened as the Cold War began with the United States influence over the world. De Gaulle took power in France, they re-established the Belgian monarchy, and Spain was given to Alfonso XIII's son Jaime I, then Alfonso XIV, and currently Louis II. The British and German federalized their colonies as independent republics under a Commonwealth system, as well as the European Union that was established in the 1950s. But eventually the Cold War kind of just petered out by the mid-1980s after the collapse of the British economy thanks to Margaret Thatcher. But the German economy, due to reforms by SPD Egon Krenz, who may be Kramer, led to the continued dominance of the German economy on Europe, and growing softer relations with the United States. Empress Victoria was known as the People's Kaiserin, being a very down-to-earth and humble person for an empress. With a 42-year reign, Kaiserin Victoria from 1948 till 1980, succeeded by her son Ernest Augustus for 7 years. And the current emperor of Germany is Ernest Augustus II, and the Prince of Prussia and future emperor will be Ernest Augustus III. Today, Germany is a federal republic with a chancellor and a constitutional emperor, divided into several states, as well as some royal states which are ruled by their own monarchs. They're all figureheads. The current chancellor is Bettina Stark-Watzinger. As for how America is right now,
Most regular people on the right, in my view, are not open fascists. So does this not worry you? People are being picked up by ICE agents in unmarked cars and sent to camps without due process, without getting in front of a judge. Some of them completely innocent legal residents and even citizens, because without due process, how do you prove you're a citizen in the first place? Trump's deportation policy can easily be used to go after political dissidents or anyone the regime doesn't like. It seriously worries me how many young men in particular are drawn to this ideology. Many young men get pulled into online rabbit holes where it feels like they're uncovering some secret truth. It's edgy, the dark side of the force, and it makes you feel smart and part of a community. That's exactly how people get indoctrinated. The reality is, it's not some cool dark side of the force. A fascist society just sucks, even for the so-called dominant group. It doesn't only function at the expense of minorities or undesirables. It's built on the suffering of everyone. You're forced to conform and lack basic civil liberties. All autocracies eventually end up completely out of touch with everyday people and cause a whole lot of suffering. It's framed as edgy or cool, the dark side of the force, and offers a sense of community and belonging. But really, it's just indoctrination into a hateful, spiteful worldview. And it won't just hurt minorities or those who don't conform. In the long run, it hurts everyone, as democracy and basic liberties are eroded or even destroyed. This all applies to both 1930s fascists and the MAGA movement. When I call this portion of the right neo-fascist, I'm not being hyperbolic. They push policies and have beliefs that line up very closely with the 1930s fascist movements.
Like and subscribe, hit hype on mobile.